Hello, everyone. Hi, Warriors, TGIF. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Walter, Kevin. Hi, Ron, Ziggy. Walter Brown, how are you? Juan Hang, how are you? Hope everyone had a good week. Hong finally gave it up. So initial objectives were reached. I think there's more left. But Bernard Baruch said, thank you, Patrick. You never go broke taking a profit. So if you took the trade up there, there were several attempts. Take something off the table. Thank you, Hazan. I'd take something off the table there, although I think 38 is possible. Thank you, Dan.
Nice call, birthday boy.
Oh, thank you, Blake.
Man, and the Aussie pound yen, you're on fire over there, Dale.
Yeah, it's an unusual week. Almost everything I saw manifested, so it doesn't happen all the time. But
no, it never does, not for anybody. But man, that was great calls on your part, buddy.
Thank you, Blake. So, you know, on a Friday, I don't know about you, I never really initiate anything new unless it's kind of a news day like NFP or something. It's kind of like, you know, we were in the arena all week doing battle with the markets, and, you know, you pare down positions at the minimum into the weekend, especially a long one like this. But, you know, people say to me, they used to ask me, Dale, do you hold positions over the weekend? And I would say, sure. You know, I can't relax unless I have something to worry about. So I know you can relate to that.
I always have a position on, always. Yeah. Even you know, I'm leaving on vacation and I've still got, you know, 2/3 of my euro pound long, and I mean, I'll keep it on because it keeps me in tune. But I don't worry about the weekends unless there's like an event risk, like you know,
an election.
You know, this is a G7 meeting, but you know, probably won't.
That's this weekend, right?
Yeah, it is. And you know, usually over the weekends, I don't worry about gaps a whole lot. I mean, it's something that 90% of the time I don't really care about.
You know, I'd like to congratulate our president on his Taekwondo move at the Russell Summit, where he pushed that guy out of the way so he could be in front of the picture.
That was pretty funny. That was pretty funny. I actually just saw that video this morning, like a couple hours ago, and I was
pretty amazing.
I was like, holy cow.
You know, Blake, you know, the rest of the world before President Trump had like this image of the ugly American. You've heard it, right? So if they were on the fence, they're not anymore. That's all I could say.
You know, I mean, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut.
I know.
Try to keep politics out of.
I know. Anyway, I thought it was funny, and also, what a great birthday gift becoming part of this team.
That's great.
That's my birthday gift.
Well, happy birthday, and 39's a good year.
Yeah, Jack Benny. Yeah, I know I date myself when I mention that guy's name. Probably 80% of the people in here don't remember him, but
that would be me.
Never grew older than 39.
Well, let's hope you stay 39 forever, Dale. So anyway, I just want to say, hey, great calls. I'll let you go through some of the charts that you're going to go through, and just let you know I'm tuned in today.
And you have a cool weekend ahead of you. You know, going to a beautiful place, and you know, who's walking your sister down the aisle? Who's giving her away?
My father is, and
you still have your parents. You're fortunate.
I actually have both of them still. Yes, I am.
Yeah. So a lot of people are traveling to Acapulco. It's going to be a big family gathering there.
Oh, it's actually Cancun, and there's like 40 people.
Cancun. Okay.
Yeah, there's like 40 people, and it's a new like all-inclusive resort. It wasn't cheap to fly everybody there, but you know, it was one of those things that this is my baby sister. She's 9 years my younger. So
wow. Yeah.
And I'm I'm actually wedding them personally. So
yeah, well, they couldn't find a better voice.
Oh, thanks.
And here's a Yiddish term, much nachas, which means much joy to you and your family this weekend. You know, these are the things. I bet you'll remember this more than your best trade of the year. So, you know, trading is what we do, not who we are, right, Blake?
Right, and that's exactly it. It is what we do, and it definitely doesn't define us.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay, so I really don't have that much to add. You have to admit the euro has really been stiff. The only thing that's kind of new, and I know we're going to go a lot higher, but short term, I think maybe EG is into that resistance zone. But, you know, any break's going to be a great buying opportunity. And I think it's great that the euro's coming down, because that's going to set up an opportunity to get long. I know some people in the room have been banding about the 10.5 level on euro. So
Dale,
get there next week.
Good morning and happy birthday.
Oh, thank you, Steve. How you doing, bro?
I'm very good. I'm very good.
Hi.
We're back. We're back in action. Just wanted to say, since you mentioned euro pound,
Yeah.
euro pound, you remember that we have been talking about that inverse head and shoulders.
Yes.
Euro pound did hit it to the pip today. So
Okay.
this pattern is complete, which means
Yeah, and there's also three. I know, and also Nick had she had like trend line, a triangle line resistance that she showed early in the week that came in above 87. So you have a head and shoulders target, you have a 3 drive formation, and you have you have that trend line resistance that Nicola showed. So.
So I mean, as you very well said, there is a very good opportunity now that, you know, we've completed targets, reached confluence of resistance, etc., to see some kind of a pullback from here. I mean, it's as good place as any.
And also, I just want to cover this. Remember Face, I was talking about, I'm not going to get real aggressive on Aussie yen, but I thought that we could at least correct this pop, and 82.60, 82.5 would be target. So, you know, I'm not saying that we're not going to end up failing, but, you know, anytime you reach a target, you got to ring the register. So, you know, hope that helped you out too, the target on that. So, Steve, Aussie, people are asking you about Aussie. I think I've covered what I need to cover, so it's great to have you back. I miss your charts, and why don't I just hand over the screen to you?
Sure, that's okay. Unless Blake, you want to go first, mate?
Or Blake, because Blake's got probably, you know, got to get ready.
Yes.
It's all yours, Steve. All yours.
Whatever is best for you, mate. You have a tighter schedule now that you're getting ready to go.
Oh, you know, I actually, let me go ahead and I'll take it just for a bit.
Go, and I'll cover whatever you don't go over, and friends ask.
Okay, Blake.
I'm saying myself.
All right.
Take it away, brother.
You know, well, I actually, you know, I just was looking at because one of my Twitter followers brought it up, and so I thought I'd bring it to your attention. Is the Nikkei. And the Nikkei is really interesting. This is a weekly chart. Let me go over to the daily. So, you know, you have the daily chart on the Nikkei, and one of the things that I think a lot of people, especially near term, you know, a lot of people, you know, gloss over is they look too near term, and they realize that, oh, hey, you know, we had a breakout. Well, that breakout actually took us near 127% extension, and actually some horizontal resistance from back in 2015. You can see this peak here back at the end of 2015. So that little false breakout is something to keep in mind, because if you're trading like you know, the yen pairs, like especially like the pound yen, which you've been talking a lot about, and you know, the dollar yen or the euro yen or whatever, these pairs are going to be greatly affected by what happens in the Nikkei, and because the correlations. I mean, if you look at, here's the dollar yen, here's the dollar yen compared to the Nikkei futures, you're going to see a pretty strong correlation there. A little divergent, just as the dollar yen has been underperforming, you know, the U.S. equity market somewhat, but very, very strong correlation. So the reason why I'm pointing this out is because if we get a failure, not necessarily today, but I would say over the course of the next week or two of the Nikkei, that's gonna bolster the argument for further yen strength. And so when I look at, and I'm going to keep the dollar yen up, you look at the pound yen, which, by the way, the pound yen, we have a pennant, and this was, if you read the ForexAnalytix analysis from yesterday, let's go over to the pound yen, and this is the basic technical analysis just from yesterday. Okay, this is what our chart showed yesterday.
Nice.
Right? Yeah, and the analysis, yeah, possible pennant formation is possible now as we close in on the apex of the pennant. We were looking for a break lower, but also looking for RSI to confirm. And then last night, shortly after that analysis was posted, we had the break in the pound yen. We had a break in the RSI, as the pound has come tumbling as a result. So, but
that was a great tactical short by you. Great harmonic pattern by Nick up there for the pound. So, anyone that's following FA, if they took FA's analysis to heart, they certainly weren't long cable.
Yeah, it's important with ForexAnalytix that you one of the benefits is every evening here in the U.S. and so it's really late night for those of you that are in Europe, but after the North American session, myself, Steve, Nick, we do a lot of the updates. Grega does his updates usually early in the European trading hours. But, aside from the intraday updates, which we get a lot of intraday updates as well, but it's important, at the end of the North American session, because that's the end of the day. I mean, it may be the end of the day for us here in North America, but really it's the end of the day for the entire world, because if you think about it, New Zealand kicks off a new day just a couple of hours later. So that's why, I get asked, I get asked by a lot of traders, hey, why do you use, I know you're in North America, so you naturally are going to use North American closing candles. I'm in Europe. Should I do the same? My opinion is always, if you have the opportunity and you have a European broker, you use North American closes because it is the end of the 24-hour session typically. You
never thought of it that way.
Yeah, because if you're in, you're in London and you go, oh, my day's over. But remember, we're still wrapping up our day, and so the new day really kicks off in Australia, New Zealand, after North American session is over. Anyway, that's why the end of the day analysis that we do, and you also have to understand, we do intraday analysis. Like, for example, if you look at our analysis here, like the Kiwi dollar. 2 hours ago, basic technical analysis was just updated, on a 4-hour chart. And if you read it last night, I'm just going to give you an example from last night to today.
That's a great point too. So you can't just count on the room to get all this stuff.
No. I mean, last night it says the 161% extension and horizontal resistance near 70.50 acted as huge wall of resistance, which will be critical if the bulls want to advance price. A retest of the broken trend line at 70 cents seems quick, likely ahead of the weekend. Quiet. That's obviously I'm typing as I was on the go. But last night we were sitting here looking at this daily chart and saying, okay, well, we're probably going to come back and retest 70 cents. So this morning, intraday update, the New Zealand dollar tested the 70-cent level, low of 70.006, and has bounced back to key resistance. So we did exactly last night what we thought. So it's important to stay up with not only the current intraday updates, but also read the end-of-day analysis, because the end-of-day analysis will give you a lot of clues, and especially candlesticks. I mean, candlesticks are huge. I mean, when I look at a candlestick and I go, oh, here's the pound. This is yesterday's candlestick analysis. I mean, we had a bearish pin bar, and it says, you know, hey, a pound dollar posted a bearish pin bar, which upper wick may allow for some downside. We are looking for confirmation lower. Obviously, this morning, you know, we've got the you know, confirmation breakdown of the pound. Well, that, you know, started to transpire last night. But, you know, the candlesticks are really important, because at the end of the day, you have to think about, at the end of the day, you know, as that candlestick gets updated, you know, candlesticks tell you a lot about positioning. You know, were there a lot of buyers stuck buying at the highs, or were there a lot of sellers, you know, buying the lows, or were they shorting the lows as it started to rally? I mean, the candlesticks tell you so much about positioning from day to day, and that's why the candlestick analysis, reading it at the end of the session, of the New York session, is really important, no matter where you live. I mean, you may live in the UK or Bulgaria, or, you know, somewhere in Europe, or, you know, even in Asia. If I got up early in the morning in Asia, I'd be reading, you know, ForexAnalytix analysis at the end of the day, because that's going to give me a good, you know, heads up of what to really expect going into the next day, you know, into Europe and into North American trade. So anyway, there's so many clues out there, and that's why, you know, that's why we do our end of the day updates. We don't do it at the end of New York or London session. I wish, because if it was, it'd make my day a whole lot easier. I mean, if I could do all of my analysis at, you know, 10 o'clock in the morning here in where I live, I would be off for the rest of the day. I would have, you know, but that's not the case. The reason why myself, I'm doing analysis at you know, 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, and Steve in Athens is doing
1 o'clock at night.
Yeah, 1 o'clock at night is to your benefit. Not, it sure the hell isn't to Steve's benefit doing it at 1 o'clock at night, you know. But it's because the market demands that we do analysis at that time of the day. So it really, you know, for those of you that don't use Forex Analytics and you don't understand how to use it, this is the reasons why we do what we do. There's a rhyme and reason to it all. It's not, you know, by randomness that we do the things that we do. It's based on years and years and years and years of experience and putting it together for you guys. So anyway, I just enough about Forex Analytics, but I was kind of, you know, trying to explain to you how.
Well, that's important. So, you know, your stuff coming out around 4 in the afternoon, that sometimes before we have a New York opening, you've missed it. Like the example you showed it. So,
yeah, I
mean, you know, if they get it at 4 in the afternoon, they could position themselves in Asia.
Right, and just to give you guys a little bit more like clarity, in Asian trade, typically, in Asia is going to fade U.S. So whatever the U.S. market did, typically you're going to get some sort of pullback, typically, and then Europe tends to go back in the direction of whatever North America was doing. So if you think about that, generally speaking, like if and we didn't get it last night, but I'm just going to give you an example. Like, let's say the pound was bearish yesterday, okay? It might bounce in Asia, and then if I was in Europe and I saw the way it closed in North America, I would actually be shorting into strength in the early European hours. So that if I traded Europe, I unfortunately, due to my life, I can't stay up 24 hours a day. It's just impossible. As much as I'd like to be up at, you know, 11, 12 o'clock at night, you know, trading the European hours.
But you didn't listen.
Yes, it's my wife. There's a reason why I've been married to her for like 15 years. It's because she understands that I do actually try to have a little bit of a life. By the way, silver's breaking out. And speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about the markets here, things that I'm viewing. So I'm a little shocked, actually. I have to say I'm a little shocked at the dollar Canadian's lack of bounce from yesterday. We had a really nice reaction from the support, and I'm just going to tell you, if I'm not really trading, I'm aside from my euro pound position, I don't want to get involved, because the last thing I want to do is start buying the dollar. This is what would have happened to me yesterday if I would have done it. I'm telling you right now. I would have bought, and this is going to tell you, for those of you that did it, because you might have done it, because this is what I was seeing, this would be my problem right now. Now think about this. Yesterday, this is how the candle closed, right? Mm-hmm. This is a possible piercing line formation, new trend low off of support. Yesterday at the close, if I was trading, I may have bought the dollar Canadian, and here would have been my issue. I would have bought the dollar Canadian maybe at like 134.70, right?
Yeah, no follow through.
No, and well, not yet anyway. So here we are at 134.55, and I would be sitting here married to the markets, watching charts, and by the end of the day, the dollar Canadian may rally back above 135. I wouldn't give up on it if I was long, because that's how I would be trading, and my stops would be below 134, and I would be long, down 20 pips. But the important part is I would be focused on the market, and I wouldn't be focused on packing for my trip. So that's why I'm just not trading. But I'm telling you, I would have fallen into that, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because I don't make money on every trade, and if you think I do, you're crazy. You know, I would have bought the dollar Canadian yesterday, or, you know, maybe on a little bit of a pullback, you know, somewhere in the 70s. I would be underwater right now, and I would be sitting here going, oh man, I'm about ready to leave on vacation. I'm underwater 20 pips. I can't focus.
Yeah, Canada will be here after you get back from Cancun, brother.
It will, and I you know, and I guarantee you that the dollar Canadian will be around and able to trade. But what I'm trying to point out is I probably would have bought that yesterday, and looking at it right now, I am surprised that we haven't had any upside follow through in the dollar Canadian. That I wanted to point out. Also, the peso. The peso is very interesting because we got a hammer candle. Okay, and it's not, the day's far from over, guys. It's not, you know, yeah. I'm looking at this stuff, and you know, it's, if I had bought that hammer yesterday in the dollar peso, I wouldn't be getting out. I mean, that's a false breakdown. Relative strength is divergent. I'm just surprised that the dollar Canadian, or the dollar peso and the dollar Canadian haven't bounced, especially looking at as weak as crude oil is. Now, we were talking about silver and gold, and then I'm going to pass it over to Steve. Dude, this is something that you guys should all be looking at. This is gold, okay? Yeah. Gold is
this one.
Yeah, what I was hoping for is next week gold to be down here, so I could be a buyer down here. This is what I wanted to do. So you know, and I try to plan my trades. You know, I try to sit here and go, okay, you know, this is what I want to happen. It didn't happen. Now we're breaking out, and I'm sure a lot of shorts in gold, we're thinking, I'm going to short here, I'm going to cover down here. So now those guys and gals are getting screwed all up and down and sideways, because now you've got gold breaking higher, which, you know, if we break 1280, 1285, it's done. Like, stick a fork in it. Like, gold is going to rip. And if that happens, the dollar is going to get absolutely destroyed, would be my initial thought, unless we're just under some severe stress with, you know, risk aversion. Then maybe gold and the dollar would go up at the same time. But right now, gold is breaking higher towards this really key trend line resistance, which is around 1280, 1285. And if that breaks, look out. Silver.
You know, Blake, your view on the metals in a way is confirmed by the Russell. So the Russell has been showing relative weakness to all the other domestic indices.
Yeah.
And people gravitated towards the Russell when the dollar was strong, because that's a headwind for multinationals. A strong dollar affects earnings, and they move towards the small caps, which, you know, strong dollar is good. You know, it's mainly domestic. They're not exporters. So the fact that the Russell is not confirming a lot of the highs in the other indices here really kind of confirms that market participants are looking for a weaker dollar, which should be a tailwind for the large cap multinationals, but doesn't help out the small cap Russell. So the Russell is saying that the turn in the dollar is real for a while.
Yeah, that's a great point. Gosh, you know, those are things, macro things that I think most traders really need to pay attention to, and it's fortunate that you're at the helm here to steer them in the right direction, Dale.
Yeah, that looks bearish to me compared to the S&P. Still look okay, and you know the Dow, but this looks pretty bearish to me.
Yeah, I mean you can see this is an example of, you know, you got the Russell really underperforming the Dow, S&P, and Nasdaq.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's pretty.
And those are domestic companies mainly, right? So.
Right, more the mid cap. Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. Well,
Okay.
anyway, keep an eye on these precious metals. They're really strong. I like I said, I was under the assumption they were going to drop before I could get long them again, and I'm assuming that there were so many people trying to short into this, you know, strength, that those shorts are getting destroyed right now in the gold market. So, and remember, if gold's going to go up, as long as we don't have massive risk aversion today, if gold's going to go up, the dollar's probably going to, you know, I know the dollar's bounced back a little bit after some of that data, but I wouldn't be surprised by the end of the day, you know, the dollar gives up some of those gains. Now, it is a long weekend. Make sure, and everybody should know that Dale will not be broadcasting on Monday because we are observing Memorial Day weekend. But it's not a long weekend for the rest of the world.
You know what, Blake, bringing up Memorial Day?
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
It's a long weekend in the UK.
Okay, I know Memorial Day is for the fallen, but, you know, I know you don't like politics, but this is the way I feel. No matter what the politics are, you got to be for the troops.
Oh,
so you know,
absolutely.
thank you for your service to our country.
I appreciate that. I do. But yes, Memorial Day is in memorandum of the fallen soldiers, and definitely the day that I like to pay respects to all the people that have given their lives around the globe for freedom.
You know, I like watching a lot of those movies. You know, Band of Brothers, this and that, Blake, and you know, I'm just in awe of the courage and the type of person that would be able to do that. I mean, in 1975, I was in the dorm room celebrating getting a high lottery number, so I wouldn't be drafted to go to Vietnam. So yeah, I'm in awe of anyone that, especially the finest generation, what they did and what they went through, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, truly is. It really is. So yeah, but now Nick was just saying, on Monday is a holiday in the UK. What holiday is that, Nick? Without me looking, I can go look. But
it's just the late May bank holiday.
Oh, I think everybody just looks for days to take off together. Like I'm sure we're gonna make up some.
I think
holidays.
it used to be Whitsun holiday.
What is that?
Yeah, like it's one of the Christian calendars. So it's, but yeah.
I see.
It's like Ascension in Europe. They had Ascension in
Ascension Day, yeah.
This week, yeah.
Got it. Well, you know, so the point, I guess the point being is it have some pretty light trading on Monday. Now, hey Nick, since you're here, debates in the UK start on Monday. Is that correct?
Yeah, they do, and it's really interesting how close the polls are.
So I didn't prep you that I was going to ask you this, and Dale, I hope you don't mind, but this is kind of important to my position, so I don't care what anybody else has to say. Just kidding. But Nick, so since you're obviously in London and you just mentioned it, the polls are surprisingly close. Is that speaking to the pound weakness right now that we're seeing? I mean, I know technically the pound looks like we're going to test the 127.75 level as we'd expected, but I mean, is it possible that the pound could really come under duress if the polls tighten up? So could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, well, Nick's good at picking these things too.
The pound was relatively weaker before any of this was showing up in the polls, and I think that that's just election effect. You know, when the referendum, like nobody thought the Scottish referendum they would vote to leave, but yet the pound was still really you know, pretty difficult trading and really quite heavy until it was confirmed. So, you know, I think it'll just be volatile. And yeah, like 5%, 5 points apart when it was supposed to be she called the election because she thought it was a landslide. And
right. So what's the, okay, so what are the issues explain, I know you follow politics.
I think she thought that he was a crap leader and he wouldn't be ready, and that the Labour Party would not have any kind of a manifesto to put to people. And so what the Tories did is they didn't really put any detail or too many promises, because they thought they were going to win by a landslide anyway. So why would you commit yourself to stuff when you're going to really win? And the Labour Party came out with a manifesto with a lot of stuff in it that even if you don't like Labour, you go, well, yeah, that's quite a good idea. And so I think it's appealed to a lot more people than they thought, you know. And now that pretty much Brexit, everyone has decided Brexit is done, you know, it can't be undone, and it won't be undone. Here's the thing, it won't be undone by voting for Labour either, whereas it might with one of the others, the Greens or the Lib Dems. So it's because he said that, it's safe to vote for Labour.
Okay, so but what effect does it have on Brexit negotiations if the Labour Party takes?
It won't.
Okay.
In fact, I think it won't. But I think people will think he's probably a weak negotiator, and we probably wouldn't get a very good deal.
Okay, so
I think that's a superficial way to think about it, but because you know, we're hiring negotiators, they're going to be the same people, but that's.
So do you think the pound weakness that we're seeing here, let's say the Labour, you know, tightens up the race?
The thing is, the election system in the UK, it's nothing like electing a president. You know, it's really quite representative. So we all elect locally. It's very, you know, the current Conservative government were elected with a 24% of the vote, okay, because that's how it works. You don't have to, you know, get at least 50% of the vote to get most of the MPs. So, and a lot of the boundaries have changed, so it really works in the Conservatives' favour. It would be really quite something if they didn't win. So I think that it's just nervousness at the moment because the polls are much closer than people expected.
So do you think the weakness of the pound should be bought then? At what point do you think that the pound should bounce then, if it doesn't swing in the direction of Theresa May?
Well, it's going to be like every other referendum, when you're going to have to look at the polls when we get a bit closer. So I think after we've had a couple of debates and the polls get a bit more serious, we'll have a better idea. But at the moment, I think the pound weakness is because it's much closer than people were expecting.
But you're saying no matter what, even after the election, no matter what the outcome, there's not going to be much material change in the Brexit proceedings. So naturally, if you're a pound bull, you should be buying the pound after the 9th. Is it the 9th? Right?
Yeah.
Theoretically.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So let's just say, and I'm sorry, who's the leader of the Labour Party?
Jeremy Corbyn.
Corbyn. Okay. I knew that, but I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's like on the head. Okay. So
okay,
let's say.
No worries.
But let's say Corbyn, you know, secures the election. He's going to negotiate. I'm trying to get this.
He'll only win with a coalition. So he might. The danger is, right, that the Conservatives might not get enough for a majority outright. In other words, more than all of the other parties put together, which means all of the other parties put together could form a coalition and govern by a coalition, and that would be the Scottish Nationalists, the Welsh Nationalists, the Lib Dems, and who are growing, even though there's hardly any of them. And in that case, that would be dangerous, because you know, the Scottish National Party are completely committed to staying in Europe, so are the Lib Dems, and so they might extract promises of we have to have another vote or all this kind of thing. So that's where the danger comes from.
Okay, so the pound weakness could actually, it could in essence be real. I mean, we could have a situation where the pound really, you know, buckles under some pressure. Like,
so I think I don't see, okay, so here's the thing, I don't see in this, for me, I'm a pound bear. I know everyone's a pound bull, I'm a pound bear. Okay, I'm a pound bear because from that pound crash low, we've made a textbook ABC correction. Okay, so for me, we're going to retrace at least 78.6 of this. We're going to go at least to like 122 from here, I think.
Wow.
And quite likely new lows. And for me, that's like, sorry, 117.
Well, okay. that's how Euro pound gets up to those higher targets you're talking about.
And the reason is, if Theresa May does win, then it's hard Brexit, and you know she wants to make the UK really competitive by slashing taxes. I think eventually it'll be good for the pound, but short term, people will be going, oh my God, hard Brexit, we won't get any deal, and so the pound will be sold because of that. And the alternative is that Labour win with a coalition, and this is very unlikely. I know some English people are going to be listening to me saying this and going, what the hell, is she on drugs? You know, but the fact is that 5 points apart means it's possible. So then a coalition, and that's like massive uncertainty. You know, because you have no idea what deal he'll have to make to keep a coalition together.
Well, you know, Nick,
especially as half of the coalition will be the Scottish nationalists who are completely committed to staying in Europe and who will not do any deal unless they get that. And so, so either way, for me, the pound's a loser.
Wow, interesting. Well, that's good. You bolster my case of being long the euro pound. So I just it's interesting to hear your point of view, and I know you follow UK politics probably closer than most. So it's interesting to hear your viewpoints. Thank you very much.
And also, guys, the RSI, whatever that spike low was, augurs for what Nick was just talking about.
Right here.
For me, I think, you know, on my chart it doesn't show it, but I had the spike low at 1.186, so that's what everyone posts the spike agreed it would be, I think. So
that was a confirmed low.
1.184, yeah.
Okay.
Nick, without that, you gave a very good argument why you think that any of the outcomes can be, you know, at least initially negative for the pound. But just to give as an observer of elections in general, I think that everybody was counting on an extremely comfortable win from the part of Conservatives and Theresa May. Okay, there's no doubt about that. But do you think that there is a good chance that we might have seen the peak in Labour polling? In what sense? That when, let's say that you're a conservative or anyhow you're leaning towards conservative, if you see that the Conservatives will secure the win no matter what happens, you get more relaxed, you start thinking of voting for something else. On the other hand, if you don't like them, even if you don't intend to vote on Labour, you might start thinking like, okay, I don't like the Conservatives, I don't like Labour, but instead of letting them have a landslide win, let me vote for them. But when you see the polls, I mean, those kind of people, when they see the polls and the difference and the gap closing, I think that once again, voters will start going the way they initially thought they might be going. So is there a chance that after seeing such a big swing in intentions through polling that we're very close of seeing a reversal of that? Because my gut, I mean, from just observing the statistical swings, would tell me that perhaps this gap that has dropped so much should be faded in a sense, if we call it from a trading perspective.
Yeah, and you know, this rally that we just had.
Nick, you sound too far away now.
Okay, sorry, I moved my microphone.
Oh yeah,
This rally that we've just had, that we're that's rolling over this week, that could just be wave A of a much bigger ABC, as you know. And if so, you know, we're going to find support somewhere around 124.50, 124.80 for another leg higher. So, you know, definitely. But I think it'll be just, you know, speculators. I don't know how much real money ahead of the election people are going to put on, but definitely, yeah, definitely. It's just that if Theresa May wins and all the talk comes back to, you know, hard Brexit and the world's going to end, I'm just not sure how many people, until the Brexit deal is concluded, are going to invest in the pound. And once that's known, and you know, that's going to be very difficult trading for the pound, you know, because all of the people on the other side in Europe that we're negotiating with, they're going to be leaks, and the pound is going to be really up and down on every time there's a leak about what the deal is or isn't, and so that's mainly why I think that, you know, if she wins, we've still got the Brexit negotiations to get through. And yeah, I take your point that the positioning is still, I don't believe everyone is a pound bear, but there are quite a lot of shorts, and you know, yeah, we definitely could see another swing higher to shake them all out, definitely. But
well, you know, Steve, the comments you make about, you know, the voters is very similar to what we experienced here in the United States. I believe a lot of the, you know, people that didn't want Donald Trump to win, yet they didn't want, they still didn't want to vote for Hillary Clinton. They just said, well, the margins are so wide that she's going to win. I can't get myself to vote for Hillary Clinton, so I'm just going to not vote. And then you get that same type of effect where, you know, you think, oh, the margin's so wide that that I don't need to vote, you know, because, you know, the conservative.
I don't know if you guys in English use the same word we do, but the translation is convolution. We call it like that. When voters of a party become stronger in their beliefs and dedication to voting for it. So what is so this is the exact translation, but I don't know if it's used in that indirect way for voting. So if it is the case, what happens usually is that when a victory seems certain, you have a low degree of convolution of people, you know, being willing to go vote for it. But when you see that it gets closer as a voting battle, then they might leave aside the little concerns or unwillingness and go ahead and vote. And trust me, I totally agree with what you said, Blake. If many of the people that didn't vote for Hillary, for example, in the US, understood that it's going to be a very tight battle for the presidency, I bet that they would have voted. I mean, I as an observer, again, I'm going to say, I'm monitoring a lot of people saying that mass media was setting Hillary as a favorite because they were actually pushing her towards victory. But let me disagree with that. I mean, this is a very basic concept. If you want to push someone towards victory, you will still present that the odds are more or less even, so you persuade people that would vote for them and don't want to vote for somebody else to still go and wait at the line and go through the procedure. In my opinion, giving her 90% odds, 95% odds, 88% odds did not do her any good. Honestly.
Oh no, I agree, and that's the same. Yeah, that's exactly the way I feel about it and what had happened. But anyway, regardless, going back to like the UK politics. I think the point that, and I agree with you, Steve. The point that that Nick is making, I think, is a good point. Is that regardless of what happens here in the next couple of weeks, the UK is going to have a tough time at it, you know, whether it is a hard Brexit or whether it's through negotiations. And, you know, I think the pound is going to be an underperforming currency. And I know that institutionals are still very aggressively short the cable, probably with good, you know, a good hedge and intention, because they know that either way is going to be a tough road. So it'll be interesting to see if the speculators jump on the short pound bandwagon, because that's where, you know, positioning has become a lot more from a retail perspective, and speculative positioning has become more neutral, you know, as of late, because there have been a lot of people that have been bullish the cable, you know, thinking that the cable is going to continue to rally. I mean, I think I see that on a retail level. So,
you know, also, Blake, anyone who bought the breakout close in the pound on your chart,
yeah,
they're now even.
Yeah, they're yeah. I mean, I gotta, and we were talking about this yesterday. I mean, think about the difference between the people that bought the euro at 108 and then the people that bought the cable at 128. You know, yeah. The people that bought the pound at the 128 level, they're just not getting paid, and they're probably extremely worried. I mean, I would be, you know, if it were me and I was on the other side of this trade, and that's how I always look at it, is how does the other person on the other side of the trade that I'm in, how do they feel? Well, if I was long the cable right now, I would probably be barfing on myself, you know, puking on myself, and because it looks ugly, you know, and so that puts me being short the cable in a more powerful position, you know, just because I can see, you know, how traders are probably viewing it right now. Now, that's not to argue that we're not at a very key technical level. We are. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that the pound's potential of bouncing here is still pretty strong, and that's why anybody who's long is probably going, okay, well, as long as we can hold this red line you see here, as long as we can hold that red line, I'm okay. But if we break that, you know, we're going to hell in a handbasket, and that's where I feel that all these stops are going to be congregating right below like 127.50, because if we trip those, dude, this thing's going to crash. Now, I say crash is not a word I should be using to describe a move like that, but the pound is really going to come under some severe pressure, because I think anybody who was a buyer right here, as we were just discussing, Dale, anybody who's a buyer right there and who's been playing to the long side, they're worried below here, and I'm assuming their stops are below there, and that's where we start tripping through 127.50. We are really going to come under pressure. That's not to say that the pound's not a little overdone. I mean, the pound is probably a little oversold for the day, and that's why I think that bouncing here, or at least consolidating here, you know, going into next week is pretty possible. You know, I wouldn't be you know, full, and I'm short, so but I wouldn't be full on like just laying in the shorts right now. I don't think now is the right time. And this is just.
Why don't you show Nick's harmonic pattern? I think
127.68 is my.
I think you had a 26.
That's your. So hold on, Nick, you're 127.
127.68 is my bull bear line in the
which would be right here, just so everybody sees it.
It's also, yeah, around about where those December 2016 highs are, and it's also the 23.6 retracement from the crash lows.
Interesting. Okay. Hey,
so
all great information on the cable.
Bear below that, so.
Yeah, I would.
Anyway, just for the ABC, but. You know.
So we were talking yesterday amongst the team, and Nick, were you here? You were. Oh no, you weren't here yesterday. Was it one of those days you were running late? But Greg and I were talking just before Rogi Horner came on, and we were talking about how we agreed on, you know, on it was actually, you know, what would happen with the pound yen and
oh yeah, I was here.
Yeah. Okay. So that is it goes the same with this conversation. Is Nick and I, and I'm sure Steve and Dale probably actually agree on all of this, but I can just say, because Nick just said it, I agree with Nick. I'm really a proper bear, or really more bearish the cable should we break below that 127.70 level, or, you know, she said 126.68. That really puts the nuts on the wait, that didn't come out right. yeah, it puts the nuts on the balls. But hey, I'm tired. Did you see this? I was at a high school graduation last night till like 10 o'clock last night. It was ridiculous. There are like 9 speakers. Usually it's just the valedictorian and the class president. Yeah, they had like 40-some speakers. I'm exaggerating now, but it was like 9 speakers, and then 600 kids had to go. Oh my God, I was like, shoot me. All right, anyway, that's why I'm talking gibberish. Steve, I'm going to pass it over to your charts. Dale,
sure,
and
Dale, do we have an interview today?
No.
Okay, good.
I don't schedule them for Friday. Friday's kind of a wrap.
Because I think that Nick actually wanted to. Nick, didn't you say that you want to show Amazon a friend asked you?
Ooh, Amazon.
Oh yes.
And Nick, I saw a look in Bitcoin that agrees with your high, and then a consolidation back to about 1,400 or so yesterday. Someone had that. Neo wave, they called it.
Nick, if you're speaking, we can't hear you again.
It's a good day when Nick starts talking FANG.
Yeah.
Nick?
So can you say again about Bitcoin? I'm not quite sure what you said, Dale. I didn't.
Oh, I just saw a count that was kind of in agreement with what you were saying, that we're near that high. And then we enter a very long-term consolidation, and it could get as cheap as, I don't know, 1,500 or something.
Yeah, 1,800 anyway. Yeah.
And I want to thank you, Nick, because your harmonic pattern in the pound, your harmonic pattern in cable.
I got to say, I know nobody. I'm a massive dollar bull at the moment, I have to say. Sorry.
Nick, do you want to show? You said Amazon. Is that still valid? Do you want to take over so you can show that before I go over the rest of the chart?
Okay. Yes, I'll do it.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
Okay, I'm making you a presenter then.
Oh, so am I.
There you go.
Okay. Come on, move.
We can see you, Nick. We can see you.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay, so everybody in, I'm just going to move this out of the way so you can see. Everybody in Amazon is talking about the $1,000 level. And, you know, when I first learned to trade stocks, I learned a trade trick. We used to do it all the time. And I learned it, you know, I don't know if anyone follows The Real Fly on Twitter, and it's called a $100 roll. And we used to buy stocks when they got to about 96 or 98 because they never stopped at 100. They would always blast through to about 104, 106. And it was such a reliable trade setup. And I honestly think that that's what we're going to see here in Amazon. Everybody is talking about this $1,000 level. And I just had a quick flick through stock twits and trading views at the trade ideas, and every damn idea is short, like it's nuts. Anyway, for me, I'm just going to move this over. Let's see if I can show you. I've got the sort of Elliott wave count that I like, and I like agree with, except that I think that this pullback that we see short of 1,000, I don't see it. I think that we are going to keep going to this wave 3 around the 1,200 level. I think that wave 4 is going to be very shallow, and so here we are. So if we follow with that wave count, this is a wave 5 that we're looking at. We're looking at wave 5 of 3, and you know, wave 5s have pretty dodgy rules, but there are some important ones, and one of them is wave 3 can never be the shortest. So that's from here to here. So we know that this wave is going to be shorter than that wave. So if we put our projection on, we can say it's going to stop below 1080. Otherwise, we've counted it completely wrong, which I don't think we have. And the other thing is that you get really reliable Fibonacci projections from the corrective swings, which is what I've drawn here. And so for me, all of my projections line up between 1056 and 70. And if I did go to my monthly chart and zoom out, I'll show you that taking this from wave 1, you can see this is wave, so this was wave 1, 2, and then this is wave 3 we're in, so we're in wave 5 of 3. And if you take the Fibonacci projections of wave 2 in that wave 3, which are for me always like the most reliable ones, then this you can see how we've reacted at the other. These are big fib ratio numbers. I know most people don't use these, but they're really useful on stocks. So and we had a really good reaction at the other levels. So for me, that's 1053, and it lines up with all these other short-term fib projections. So there you have it, between 1053 and 1069, I think is where Amazon is going to top out. And then I think that we'll see a wave 4. And so that might also have, you know, implications for the bigger stock market as well. So yeah, that was my view of Amazon, and I'll post the chart on Twitter.
Is Google the same or not as powerful? Because they're, you know, everyone's saying which one's going to hit 1,000 first, and it looks like it's Amazon.
Truthfully, I haven't studied it. I studied Amazon because somebody asked me on Twitter.
Thank you. Thank you, Nick. Great view.
You're welcome. You have control.
I wish all these parabolic moves everywhere. Bitcoin, Amazon.
Yeah, that's going to end up very, very nicely. I have no doubt.
What does it mean, all these parabolic moves?
It means that we are entering the very last phase of a bull market, that everybody is going to be convinced, you know, that you know, they're going to glue a rhetoric to it. Might that be massive tax cuts, or I don't know what else, or you know, like nominal GDP growth for the US or whatever else. But you know, no matter what they say and no matter how much we rally more, which we might easily do for a few more months, the fact is that indices in especially, but not only the US ones, have run way ahead. I mean, we're now pricing in rainbows and unicorns and friendly aliens coming on the planet, giving us new technology to boost GDP, and I don't know what else. I mean, it's definitely at some point in the very near future, we're going to be looking back at, for example, 2017 valuations, and you're going to be reading the usual stupid articles, and they call them stupid because the same people that write them will write them then, might be arguing now that the market is not so overbought, etc., saying that, oh, in retrospect, yes, probably valuations, you know, were not, you know, were not what they were supposed to be.
Yeah, you just look at the divergence with Aussie yen being like Chris Laurie's risk barometer. How far off the highs Aussie yen is compared
there are
to...
several markets that are starting to show some divergences, and you know, as you see, we had on one of those occasions, which I was actually telling Stelios yesterday in Cyprus that we were sitting, that listen, this bid under stocks is completely artificial, and of course he was agreeing, because I told him the move we had last Wednesday at a market that actual participants would be.
You've got the screen now, buddy.
Yes. I started sharing it. Okay. I was telling him that, listen, we are so overbought, and last Wednesday we got a huge move down in a market that the bid was not coming artificially through central banks and whatever else. Market participants would never go ahead and buy such a move the next day and keep buying to see new highs. They would at least expect another leg lower. I mean, if it was any other market, you remember we had this conversation that you were telling me, what do you expect? And I told you, I expect that under normal circumstances, we should have at least one leg lower. But if there is one market that might not produce that, is stocks. For the reason I told you, I do believe that the bid is completely artificial. I mean, this move here is not normal move. You cannot find those kind of moves in you know, in currencies so often or whatever. I mean, it's extremely rare. But in stocks, sure. I mean, we're going to find a reason to buy any dip. But needless to say, I still see huge divergences. Obviously, I got stopped out in my Nasdaq short exactly at break even that I had put my stop loss. I don't regret not taking profits, being like almost 2% in the money when we got that dip. Actually, this is not Nasdaq, but it doesn't matter because the move was exactly right. I don't regret keeping it because, you know, I'm on occasion when I'm seeing divergences, etc. I'm selling stocks with very minimum risk because I really want to be short when the big turn comes, and at some point that's going to come. And to be honest, I'm contemplating in shorting Nasdaq again because we've rallied like 4.5% since the lows within 6 trading days, and today for the time being we are now positive. And I really think that this move should fade again, and you see we have huge RSI divergences in all indices, and this is what we call reliable. You see we had an overbought reading in RSI, and current reading is just at the 70 line. So I think that we're going to get some type of a pullback. If not today, that's a Friday, perhaps Monday. So I'm monitoring. I'm going to give it another shot. You know, as long as I don't get hurt by being stopped at break even or whatever, I really like it. I think it's overbought. We've hit several targets. We've hit, you know, both Elliott wave and, you know, basic technical analysis targets. We're again approaching the top of this ascending channel, etc., etc., etc. So I will be short Nasdaq, you know, today, on Monday, Tuesday. You know, I mean, Mondays markets are closed, but you know what I mean. One of the following days, I'm going to be short Nasdaq again. I'm going to let you know. But let's see. We have a lot of things we're looking at here. First of all, this is what I was looking for: correction in Euro USD. It was this ascending channel, which we, you know, intraday overshot, but we, you know, but especially this. Candle here was my confirmation that we're going to get some kind of a pullback. I will be a buyer of all Euro pairs, but not yet. I mean, I really believe that Euro has more to run. We are also seeing some signs of a reversal here in USD CHF. You see 1, 2, 3, 4 daily wicks in the same area during the past 5 days. I mean,
yeah, Nick talked about that when you guys were in Cyprus, the potential for a low there.
Yes, yes, I do see, but I'm going to be telling you.
Can you guys tell I'm a big fan of Nicola Duke?
Who isn't?
Okay, good point.
You stop it or I'm going to go. This is embarrassing. I'm going to go. Bye. See you all. Have a lovely weekend. Bye.
Bye-bye, Nick.
Hey, Nick.
But I have to tell you something about it. I said it before and I repeat it now. I believe that this was a huge break, and I will be looking a move like this as a great opportunity okay. I don't need to explain further. I mean, I just showed it on the chart.
Yeah.
So I'm looking and hoping of a move like this in USD CHF. I mean, we have very, very nice confluences of resistances, roughly in the area I just marked. And I'm really crossing my fingers. I am really crossing my fingers to find an opportunity to get there. Okay. By the way, we're finally getting, you know, the pullback probably also in Euro. It came a little bit later, so, you know, perhaps we might be getting something like this. Okay.
I think so.
Yep. So something like this might be on its way. 122, 60, 70, 80, whatever, 122, and then around 121, whatever, you know, the confluence is going to be with this trend line. All of those I'm going to be monitoring at the way. And by the way, it's obvious now, we also seem to have formed, actually, TradingView changed their, that's very interesting. I'm going to be, this is also a double top of some kind. There it is. It's almost a perfect double top here. So yes, euro yen is also pointing lower at the moment. Somebody asked before, I saw about EuroCAD. EuroCAD is still quite mixed, I have to say, but it does look that it's likely to unfold lower. Euro Aussie, look at this. Euro Aussie is probably gonna give us a key reversal today. New high, reversal, closing lower, and testing once again this ascending channel support. I favor the short side when we close below it, especially, I mean, a key level is going to be 149.30. Close below 149.30 should definitely open the door for lower prices. So I think we're getting much closer to actually having evidence that things are turning. Euro Kiwi gave it to us first. You remember, let me zoom out. We had marked this day, when we had this day here, that we actually gapped lower, and we formed this this candle. It's not exactly a dark cloud cover because we would have to gap higher, but it was a bearish signal anyhow. I marked this that I'm now expecting a move lower, and it's indeed unfolding. We're currently testing the first areas of support, but most likely, especially since the other euro pairs are just starting to unfold lower, I'm expecting that we will move lower perhaps to test this previous high. So Euro Kiwi is quite clear. Now EuroCAD is a little bit more mixed. We are testing again this zone as support. I'm guessing that we're going to move lower here as well, but other euro crosses seem to me, better positioned, more clear. So I'm not going to be involved with EuroCAD at the moment. I mean, I see better opportunities out there. This is Euro NOK actually. It's currently forming some kind of a triangle. So I'm going through all the euro crosses. Euro MXN, more mixed. I don't like it at the moment. And let's look at some other things that actually present some interest. And first, oil. We were talking yesterday when we just started moving lower. We were around here 50 something. You remember that I said that I want to see this zone tested. To be honest, I said that it will matter of how we're going to test it, how fast we're going to test it, but I didn't actually expect that we would test it within a few hours. We did. We're getting a reaction out of it, but I doubted that this one single day move is going to be all we get. So having said that and seeing the speed with which we tested it, I think this kind of scenario, testing this zone and rebounding off it, is probably off the table at the moment, because something like this now looks more likely, and trying to find the second zone to test before moving higher. I'm guessing. I'm expecting at least one leg lower since we did that within a single day. So that's it with oil. USD yen. We had said several times that this area, we had marked it since here, that this area is very important. So as it seems, we did hold the 111.60 to 112 area, and this is obviously bearish in the sense that as long as we fail to penetrate it, there is, it's more likely that we're going to see, and this actually looks like a bear flag if you look at it closely.
Steve, Jess wants to let you know he covered his short palladium at his first target at 755.
Oh, yeah, that's a good.
Looking to re-enter at 787 and 808.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Because Sean, what, you not liking Eastern Standard Time?
Sorry?
Oh, I'm just reading some things.
Okay. Palladium. Yes. Thanks for mentioning it, because we were away and I haven't given any updates. Okay. I closed half my Palladium at yesterday's high. Okay, because I saw the rebound. Intraday we had penetrated through it, this ascending wedge trend line, but then we reversed. I didn't like that. I held to the whole position. Then 2 days later we turned lower, And when yesterday I saw another rebound from this, although my main scenario is that it's very likely that this is still some kind of a bear flag, and it actually looks like it, or a pennant. We're going to see what kind of a formation it is. So it's very likely that we have something like this, or that this line is going to end up being parallel. But anyhow, I closed yesterday half of it because I still had like 20 little dollars of profit, and I now have my stop loss for the rest a little bit above break even. Above here I have it at 801, actually I set it, although I was short since 794. So I already booked half of it, and I'm monitoring this. If this proves to be a bear flag of any kind, or a continuation pattern, and we break below it, I will probably re-establish the half that I closed. So that's that's an update with palladium. I'm still holding all my silver. I got a little bit worried at this candlestick here, but I wouldn't be selling out after a single candlestick, and after that I had absolutely nothing to worry.
You got over your target, Steve. That was a great scale in, and you were looking for 1720 to 1740.
Yes, but I didn't book any because I see no sign of a reversal yet. I mean, the only strong candle we got was this one, and as I said, I wouldn't be selling after a single, candlestick, although it got me worried. So I've been holding. My cost average is at 1630 something. Nice. So this has already proved to be a very nice trade, because I'm now actually just a fraction of a dollar, more than a fraction of a dollar and a fraction. I mean, in the money. So
nice
that's
trade,
already been.
It wasn't easy to do down there. Nice.
No, but I really believed it. You remember that I said it, that it's not a trade for everybody, but I started scaling at 1650, and I said I have no problem to, keep doing it.
I know Stelios made you buy it down there.
Nah, Stelios is, Stelios is even a bigger believer than I am. But, I didn't buy it out of macro reasons only, because macro, as you very well know, shows you like far into the future. That doesn't mean that it doesn't offer any triggers. You know what I mean? It doesn't offer any triggers. My trigger was purely, technical analysis trigger. I believe that this is, this sell-off here was amazing. It was one of the sell-offs you find once every 10 years. I mean, its duration, how many days we got in a row, the fact that we had no actual reason behind it, etc., etc., etc. I mean, I really wanted to be a buyer as long as we held this descending channel that we had broken. So I started scaling in. I was very lucky to get a second bullet in, just above the lows. So I'm pretty happy with this trade, but I have to tell you that I'm expecting that the pullback is not going to be late. Probably I'm looking at this almost confluence of the 200 DMA and the 61.8. So I'm guessing if we go close to 1760, 1750, 1750, 1760, the first sign of trouble I'm going to see, I'm going to probably chicken out and book profits, because it will be a nice trade regardless. So that's about silver. Somebody was asking about gold before. Okay, listen. We've said, I remember having on the webinar this discussion with Blake about the potential of this being some coiling, a triangle as marked here. The fact is that we're currently approaching quite fast again this huge in importance and in length trend line that comes from the highs. Obviously, we're not the only ones monitoring this trend line. A break above the 78.6, which is already anyhow above this trend line at 1278, let's call it 1280, is going to be a major event, and then we're only going to have the 1300 level to scale. We're not there yet. I'm just saying that gold does not seem to want to stop. The fact that it got rejected initially here but held the first support it found was anyhow quite bullish, and then the next time we tried to do this, we found support even higher. I mean, this was looking more and more like formation that would break in the direction of the trend, and that's what it did, of the short-term trend, I mean. And honestly, I see no reason to be short gold here, but if you want to be short gold here, you know where your risk is. Regardless, we're still within this triangle, so, you know, don't jump the gun. Definitely being long at current levels, if you're not already involved, makes no sense. But you know, this thing looks like it wants to test the line, at least test this line, and we'll see what happens from there. What else? USD CAD. USD CAD. USD CAD and USD, actually I'm going to start with USD NOK, and the reason I'm going to start with USD NOK is that oppositely from USD CAD, I think it might have provided people with an opportunity to join the downside even today, because today we rebounded yesterday, it's a very strong rebound, and today we tested the 840 area, which has provided support resistance plenty of times, and also this ascending trend line. So I would have to say that yesterday's candle is a little bit worrying, but perhaps, I mean, and by the way, we got rejected intraday once again from the 200 EMA that comes from here. We didn't manage to close above it yesterday, neither the day before that, neither 4 days ago that we tested it, and today for the time being we're getting rejected from it once again. So USD NOK might be giving people an opportunity to join the downside, because as long as we fail to close above here, it remains, you know, at least my view remains bearish. Now let's have a look at USD CAD, which, as actually Blake covered this. You remember we said yesterday that we're getting a rejection out of this channel. Today's move lower is completely unexpected, because when you have a reversal like this, first of all, you expect some people to take profit. Second of all, oil is actually rebounding today from an important trend line, and CAD is, you know, is mostly not playing. I mean, actually USD, I mean, is mostly not playing so much ball, especially if you consider what the dollar has done today. If people didn't notice, today we had a big revision in the first quarter GDP. I mean, the market came out believing it was a 0.7, if I remember right. We had a revision at 1.2. We have actually dollar strength against plenty of currencies, but we don't see that against the CAD. So USD CAD does not seem very likely at the moment that it's going to do us the favor of testing higher levels. So perhaps if we get up to 135 and change, 135.30, that might be all we can expect, and definitely a break below this channel support is going to be extremely bearish as an event. The next support I have afterwards is below 133. So keep that in mind. What else do we have? I think we spoke a lot about cable. We had spoken about it even when we were here. We have broken the ascending channel, etc. The only reason I'm mentioning cable again is the following. I do believe that cable might find good support, because I have a confluence of supports here at the 126 roughly level, because here we have the previous triangle resistance, which might act as support, and the 200 EMA. So a break below this zone, the 128 zone, which seems very likely, should lead us there. But I wouldn't be so convinced that we're going to see a break of this area so easily. So in
I lean that way, just because of the Dixie. Yeah.
Yes. So in my book, depends on how we approach this zone. I'm really looking into the opportunity of rebuying cable. I was long, not recently, you know, like somewhere here, booked some profits and then didn't get myself involved again. I was involved with other pairs. But I would probably be buying it down here if we don't see some, you know, some kind of structure that will be telling us that no, this thing is going a lot lower. So if we get some kind of orderly sell-off and some kind of a stalling around here, I'm interested. I'm interested to be a buyer again of the cable. But the likelihood that we're going to test this zone is very, very high. Very, very high. So in the short term, I was having this discussion with Stelios yesterday, and I was telling him that in my mind, short term, the cable is toast, and we were definitely going to see a correction because, you know, we were seeing this. We found it very hard to penetrate 130. Then we did so, and the absolute next day we got a spinning top. I mean, then we got a test of this ascending trend line. We showed that we are incapable of rebounding again. Then we retested this little zone. I mean, everything here was
plus we were bullish euro pound.
Yes, yes, and the euro pound that we had discussed with Blake. Yes, exactly. Everything was pointing to the fact that the momentum for cable has vanished completely. I mean, the upside momentum had completely vanished. So I was and I remain short-term bearish the cable, but not bearish in the medium term. I mean, I find it likely that support is not far away from here. Aussie. Somebody's asking about Aussie. Aussie is a little bit annoying. We got the initial reaction we wanted from the second zone, and it was quite strong. Today doesn't want to play ball. We for the time being we seem to want to post something like a dragonfly doji or a spinning top, or we're going to see what we're going to get. But it seems that, you know, after yesterday's move, I would be expecting a stronger reaction, a stronger follow through today. We're not showing that, and Kiwi is actually posting an outside bullish day after retesting this broken triangle. So I don't know. I mean, they don't feel so bearish anymore. I expected a bigger reaction. We might get it in the next few days, but as I've said many times, I don't see anything I like at the moment, so I just ignore them. I mean, I will monitor them every day until I see a setup.
Just like the gold right now.
Sorry, say again?
The Aussie is just like the gold. Hasn't broken out yet, but it has a decent feel to it, and as long as gold is holding up, Aussie should too. If this rally in gold fails, Aussie will.
Exactly. If the test of the descending trend line rejects gold once again, then we might see that expected acceleration lower for the Aussie. And if we see the structure...
Dan Norberg likes the short Kiwi from 71 to 71 and a half, and
let me see.
Dan is a pretty smart cat.
From here?
71 to 71 and a half he wants.
Yeah, I agree with him. I agree with him in what sense? I'll probably not be doing it, except if I see there a very strong reversal candle, but he's right. I mean, we have 200 DMA at 71.10. We have the 61.8 and previous bottoms with wicks and everything else here. It is a fine zone to look into, a continuation to the short side. But for me, I mean, I don't see such a strong setup that I will be saying I'm going to be shorting there. I'm going to be monitoring. If I see some kind of a reversal candle there, like some kind of a dark cloud cover, a bearish engulfing or something like that, then the risk reward is going to be there, and I'm going to be very seriously interested. But until then, I keep monitoring and have a neutral bias. The fact I have a neutral bias is I cannot get out of my head the false break here. False breaks are usually strong signals of the opposite side, and I cannot, I just, you know, I cannot get myself in forgetting what happened down here. So, you know, I keep that in the back of my mind. So this makes me require a stronger signal than I would otherwise need to be interested in the downside again. Until then, I'm neutral with a very slight bearish bias. That's exactly my feeling for Kiwi and Doji at the moment.
Okay, Steve, we have about 5 minutes left. We could extend it if Grega had some things he wanted to show today.
Oh, is Grega here? Yeah, that would be nice. Grega, are you here, my friend?
Grega,
hey guys.
Hey, Grega.
I am always here, but you like to talk very much, as you know, so it's very hard to join.
You just stabbed me under the belt.
You know that I'm joking. So actually, what I wanted to show is definitely crude oil. As Steve pointed out, I listened to the whole webinar actually, so as Steve pointed out, we came down very nicely here and sharply to 48.40. We tested this wave 4 zone, and as Steve highlighted in the past updates actually, that it depends what structure or how this pullback will unfold. As I see it, it's a very strong, very aggressive, strong move that came actually out from ending diagonal. It's a strong reversal pattern. So actually when ending diagonal is finished, prices will tend to retrace back to the starting point of ending diagonal, and starting point was actually right
there. Another ForexAnalytix conference. We saw the same thing with Grega from a different perspective. Isn't that nice?
Yes, so actually I was updating the site this week, and already mentioned on Monday that sooner or later we will see a top formation here. So actually this decline surprised me a little bit, as yourself, Steve, that was very strong, aggressive in just a few hours. But still you can count 5 waves down. So what really matters at this point is that this 5 waves down suggests that we will see more weakness after a bounce. So I will watch for resistance next week around $50 per barrel up to $51 per barrel. So this would be my zone. There's also 50 and 61.8% retracement. There's also those swing low from this swing lows from this wedge. So definitely I would be looking for more weakness after a 3-wave bounce. I just think that this is a very nice 5-wave decline that can be interesting for short-term traders. But on a longer scale, I think that this pullback could then bottom maybe at 78.6 or 61.8%. It could be tested, let's say, sometime in June, probably.
Very nice. But, so equivalently, obviously, you expect a little bit of a pullback for USD CAD as well, and then a break of the ascending channel that I showed, right?
Yes, but what is really interesting that dollar CAD did not respond so aggressively to the upside compared to crude oil weakness.
True, very true. Yes. That's very true. I mean, the reaction was extremely weak, extremely weak.
Actually, you can see that today we are actually turning already down. So I just don't believe that we will see another similar sell-off on crude oil. What I think that when we will see move lower into wave C, okay, and now also firstly a bounce higher into wave B, I think that CAD could still remain very strong, or at least consolidating. I don't think if we make it very simple, if dollar CAD did not make any aggressive move to the downside, while crude oil lost how much percent yesterday? It was what, 6% or so?
5, something
okay.
like that, yeah.
Yes, so actually if dollar CAD did not make any impulse to the upside, when it will, how much crude oil should decline? So from this perspective, I just think that dollar CAD will remain on a bearish side. And Dale, as you remember, we were looking for 1.34 and then a corrective bounce for a wave 4
Right.
back to 1.35. Actually, this has been tested, those zone recently, but think that we will see a slightly more upside for deeper pullback here in 3 waves. So I would pay attention to 135.
Gregor, I don't know if you've prepared something. You've probably heard that both Blake and I are along the euro pound from perspective as well as positioning, but a friend is here is asking your point of view for the euro pound. I don't know if you have something prepared.
Yes, of course we have. Actually, I'm observing 2 ideas, okay? The first basic stuff is that we are in consolidation from this December low, and that I'm observing this wave B, what type of pattern will form. I firstly thought that we already actually finished this back in March, but it appears that because of euro dollar going to the upside across the board, there's definitely still more gains to come on euro pound as well. So actually what I'm tracking is now this flat correction here. Firstly, this was my second count. Now it's coming in play very nicely. So actually it's a flat correction, A, B, and now expecting a 5-wave rise for a wave C. So definitely looking for a retest of this spike high from start of the year. So new high for the year, and then I would be looking for reversal to the downside. But
so in essence, because I understand that your second count is mostly turning now to be your main view, right?
Yes, exactly. Because today is Friday. Actually, today is usually my important day when I can change my views, because I want to see the weekly close price, and we are just much more higher than yesterday. So obviously weekly candlesticks are very important. We will close probably at the highs, which means there is more bullish momentum and volume behind this move. So this will likely continue into the next week, which means we could test those swing highs from March and January.
Perfect. So you see another ForexAnalytix confluence about the euro pound.
Yes, actually I will post all of these updates for members on Monday at the start of the European session. So, but Perfect. As I said, there's also still another count possible, because if you see first structure in wave A in 3 waves and then wave B in 3 waves, then can also be a triangle. So here on this chart, I know it can be confusing for some, but there is possibility that we stay trapped in a triangle if this trend line would hold. But as I said, today, if we get a breakout here and we close at the highs, then I just think that we will see slightly more upside. But if we would reverse down, then I would be looking for a triangle. But anyhow, on a longer scale, I think that there is a wave B going on, and that we will see it then drop later into wave C, probably back to retest this swing high from 2016.
Great.
Nice looks, Gregor.
Yes, so anything else?
Yes, one last thing for your friend Steve. Nasdaq?
Nasdaq, oh my God. It's bullish.
So,
you said earlier that you want to go short, right? Or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so Nasdaq. I have on this one here. Okay, so it's actually, I don't have labeled the whole cycles, but I think it's that will be enough for the short-term view.
Yes,
so,
because you labeled the last part of the. Actually, we have exactly the same channel drawn out. Exactly the same channel.
Yes, I think the channel is very important. Now, normally when you see such an extended wave, okay, wave 3, then usually wave 5 and wave 1 will be very similar. Okay, so if I make just a quick update on this. So actually there is room for slightly more upside up to 5880. Also, the next thing that I would pay attention on is if we draw a channel. So actually, the correct Elliott wave channel is
1 and 1 and 3, right?
No, actually it's
2 and 4.
Wave 2 and bottom of wave 4.
Yes, you're right. 2 and 4, and then you draw the parallel. You're right about that.
And then the parallel line at the top of wave 3, but sometimes I also put it at the top of wave 1, okay? Because sometimes wave 1 is also a little bit extended. So,
so actually, from what I see, you're also expecting a reversal quite soon. I mean, right?
In this range, I would definitely be aware of a reversal. Now, I will not say that I would short it, but definitely if I would be long, but I'm not long on stocks for a while because I just think that it came so much higher that I cannot buy it there. So what I'm waiting is just on a...
So you key in NASDAQ trades, Steve, off Nick's target in Amazon. 1050, maybe.
Nick targets?
That's the big leader in NASDAQ.
Yes, that's correct. But she's looking where for how much advance?
I think 1058.
1050 at Amazon.
Okay, so maybe we will continue to the upside as well, but I just, from a trading perspective, definitely I think that there will be some healthy pullback in 3 ways. That's just my point of view.
But after such a huge run of this last, I mean, this last leg higher in NASDAQ is almost parabolic. I mean, just look at it. Wouldn't you expect that even a 3-wave correction of this structure should bring several hundreds of handles of a drop? I mean, shouldn't we drop at least at, let me look my chart, like 5,300?
Yes, but if you take a look on this part from February, actually this could be labeled as a wave 1, wave 1, wave 1. Sorry, wave 1, wave 2, wave 1, wave 2. And
yes.
Now we're in a wave 3 of a big extended wave 3.
Yes, correct.
So,
I agree with you. And then you expect a wave 4 of the, yes, exactly. Now you expect a wave 4 of that, and then you expect the wave 5, which if it's equal to wave 1, we might go a lot higher.
Let me label this.
Yes.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, so we can go much higher here, and definitely I would wait on this wave. Yes, and I would wait on this wave for pullback before considering to join any uptrend here, because this is, as you said, going parabolic, much sharper.
This is parabolic completely.
So, but we need to listen to the price market. Sometimes we need to put our bias on the side, and even if we think that stocks are overbought extremely, it's still bullish market until the top is formed.
Yeah, but I'm seeing the exact same thing you see. I mean, I'm seeing channel resistance very soon. I'm seeing a market that is extremely content and extremely discounting any kind of risk that comes up. I'm also seeing the structure you have. You remember I've sent you my Elliott wave count, some time ago. So we're seeing the same thing as well. So I'm really looking into taking another stab lower. I was low but got stopped at break even. I didn't book profits because I thought we might get something more, and I'm not regretting it, and I'm going to do the same. I mean, when I catch the reversal, I want to catch several hundred of handles of a reversal. They're not like 1%.
Actually, if I'm honest, I also thought firstly that we'll see much deeper sell-off after this turn down from in mid-May. So actually, I think that there were a lot of traders caught on the wrong side here, probably.
No questions about it. Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grega. Thank you, Steve Volge. Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you for having us, Dale.
Thank you, Stelios. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, FaCe community. I just had, someone was asking about Aussie Kiwi, and I could show that quick, and rapid. Okay. I had this line drawn, and I extend it out. It's kind of a 3-drive line. It's underneath it here. I would wait until it got back in the channel to take a shot the long side. I forgot who asked that, but that's what I would do. So I don't see anything really here at the on the 4 hour. There might be some 1 hour, but I would wait for this to be a false breakout, and that would be action back over 105.80 and with a closer too. So that's a wrap. I hope that we added value to what you're trying to accomplish or what you are accomplishing. I love you too, Brother Jess. You're very welcome. Enjoy your 3-day weekend. Thank you for your attention and your support. And like Blake was saying, a lot of stuff happens in the afternoon. You want to wish me happy birthday, subscribe to ForexAnalytix. You could click the link right on the chat box. Thank you very much, everyone. Remember, most of all, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. And working with you, the community, and the FA team is definitely a blessing that I count. Look forward to wrapping up the month with you guys after Memorial Day and looking to really stay in tune in June. So enjoy your weekend, everyone. Go smell the roses. Enjoy the end of spring. Summer's around the corner. Thank you, Glenn. Okay, Arif. Thank you, Glenn, Jess, Stephen. Adios, everyone. Thank you, Kevin.